change the name and the category. So I got that all fixed up, but hey everybody, how's it going? Kristen here. Give me one moment here. I'm just trying to get everything fired up here. I'm going to be launching a tweet. Why are all those like separated? That's so weird. Stop separating them. Ah. Wish you could fit the whole name in there. It's really, really hard. All right, so whoop whoop. All right. Tweet has been sent out. All right, cool beans. All right. We're going to wait for a little bit of a trickle effect here, wait for some people to come by, but I just want to give you guys some little bit of updates here too. Just trying to keep you guys up abreast about what's going on. I think I've already talked about my cat before last week. You're doing much better now. You sitting in my lap, not super crazy drugged up or anything like that. We have a little checkup for him coming up in a little bit. So Trash Kitty update. He's doing much better. He hasn't been sleeping on his trash in a little bit. I did took a picture, but I didn't post it up or whatnot. And I actually had a picture of Shadow. He's right there in his little tower right now. A little fuzzball. So he actually took the spot over a couple of times, but that's about it. I think Nero's done with it at this point, so he will no longer be the trash goblin. I swear, if he does not lay in that spot like for another few more days, I'm taking that trash and throwing it away. It's literally like in the hallway, but it's against the wall. So it's not that much of a big issue, but I don't want trash around the house except for him. I want to pick him up and bring him up to the camera, but I'm like, I don't want to disturb him. He's happy. Not bugging me. Besides, these guys right now, because what's going on with Nero's diet right now, I have to force and keep them like eating at the same schedule, and boy, is he pissed off. Aside from that, today, like I like you can see in the title though, we got 2 series to review. We got Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try. I will be keeping them separate from each other. I was originally planning actually to review them together, like in one video basically, but I'm actually going to do like I have been doing with my other videos so far. I'm going to separate them into 2 separate reviews. So just keep in mind that when I do my introductions and closes, it's just gonna be like as if it's a YouTube video. I'll let you guys know when I'm actually closing this stream though. I still have a little bit more I want to talk about once I'm done reviewing these 2 shows, but we are coming to a close, folks, on Gundam. So I'm excited about that, and I just really want to talk about things I'm going to be doing after the fact of the matter once I'm done watching the shows, because I'm far from done. At least I'm done with the hard part, I want to call it at least. All right, it's been about 3 minutes here, so let me go ahead. We're going to just get kind of things started off here. Let me just shorten this a bit. There we go. And of course, if you guys want to message or say anything, go for it. I will respond to it. So please don't hold back or anything like that. And if anything else, leave comments down below too. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will respond. Anyway, let me go ahead and begin things here. So, hey there, and welcome to another Nerdy Reviews. I'm the Absolute Nerd, or you can just call me Briston. And today, we're going to be reviewing Gundam Build Fighters. Now, before I begin with any of the spiels and stuff like that, let me just give you this real quick. If you're watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. Do you like the series? What do you think about my comments about it? Those sort of things. Leave something down below. Anyways, let's just go ahead and jump right into today, because honestly, I have a whole lot I want to kind of say about this series, but at the same time I don't, and I want to keep it short for you guys. I've been trying to keep this short. It's really hard. But anyways, let's just start off something simple. What's the story about this anime? So in short, the Gunpla builder Sayori teams up with Reiji here to participate and fight in the 7th Gunpla Battle World Championship. That is just the baseline, super simplistic. Honestly, it doesn't really change too much from there. It's a pretty straightforward anime. I say it in this manner because unlike most Gundam series so far, this is a very different one. Very, very different. And I'll talk a little bit more about that too. But one thing I do want to elaborate on, that this is actually a 25 episode series. Very, very short for a Gundam series itself. Originally aired in Japan back on October 13th of 2013. Um, just some basics on it. I mean, the animation, you can kind of see in this still here itself. This is actually the front cover of the Blu-ray itself. But the animation's pretty much itself. It's very crisp, very clean. I don't really have too much to say or may say on the animation. Didn't notice anything like air-wise or whatnot, but it was really, really enjoyable, really, really light and nice. I like a lot of the character designs and animation too, so I got nothing there really to say negative about. Music in this series is a little bit weird. It's got a nice little mix of like techno punk with like exciting fighting music. Kind of has like a little weird like Japanese rap almost at times. I can't really tell. So it's like I said, it's very weird. At times it works and at times it doesn't work. So it's a little hit and miss with this series. But I mean, for the most part, the music's all right. Nothing too super memorable about the music, at least. Voice acting, yeah. Okay, so here's another good example of where the dub kind of falls flat in some cases for anime. When it comes to Build Fighters, the dubbing is okay. I mean, everyone kind of fits their role for the most part. I feel like some characters could have been, like some other actors could have been replaced for somebody else that could fit the character a little bit more. I think more so. So China right here, which is one of our side characters too. I don't like her voice actress. I didn't feel like she fits her role that well. Too pitchy at times, and I get that they're kids, but everybody else sounded fine, and she just sounded super way off. Nothing bad about the voice actress. She didn't break in her lines or anything like that. I just didn't feel like her voice fits this character at all. Just did not work out. The second thing I want to talk about too is that the voice actress for Sei sounds like Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. I kind of mentioned this too because I want to move into the next, not weird thing, but it's weird and unique when it comes to Build Fighters. Unlike most Gundam series that we have seen thus far, or I've covered and reviewed, every Gundam series is pretty much, although they might have a different story with different cast and characters, they pretty much fall in line with the same things that you would expect when watching a Gundam series. You're getting like a war story, you're getting a lot of characters, whether or not you like them or not, but they're interesting enough to follow and wanting to know what's going on with them. And or we're also following a lot of these themes of like war is hell, whoever wins the innocent lose, those sort of things. And then there's additional ones that come through them too. So we kind of have these expectations about what a Gundam series is. And of course, giant robots. Take all of what you know about Gundam, and when you're trying to watch Build Fighters, you're kind of throwing that out the window. The only thing that Build Fighters is really going to be doing, let me put it in most simplistic terms. It's a lighthearted shonen anime. That's the most simplistic way I can put it for you guys. I can compare it to other lighthearted animes, and well, some of them might not be lighthearted, but in the same tone, and I'll elaborate more too. Like Pokemon, Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh, or Digimon series as well. So these are like series I want to mention, like where it's lighthearted. Yes, some of them that I mentioned can get pretty dark, like Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh, but the idea behind it is that it's more or less covering a product and then having a story with it. Yes, Gundam does have its history with trying to cover a product and then having a story with it in a sense, but usually it's the story first, then the product later. Build Fighters does something very different in that it feels very much like those shows that I had mentioned. Very lighthearted, not that dark. There are some dark moments, but in all honesty, it's like comparable to like, not really comparable to Yu-Gi-Oh or Digimon, but it's lighter, much lighter than any Gundam series that we have covered thus far. That's something it's very weird. So watching this series as a Gundam fan, it's very nice because what Build Fighters tends to do is that it tends to do a lot of homages. Of course, we have Gundams, we have mobile suits, we have Gunpla. My god, the word Gunpla is said in this series so much, I think if you try to do a drinking game with it, you will not survive an episode. I just got to put that out there and make a light little joke. But seriously, the word Gunpla is used so much that it's kind of funny because we talk about the Gundam series in the series itself, but oftentimes they really refer to it as Gunpla, not Gundams or mobile suits or anything like that. So it kind of goes right back to the whole anime about a product and not so much as an anime to be itself, right? But just like other predecessors beforehand, like Pokemon and Digimon and so forth, even though it's covering a product, it has a lot of respect to the source material and basically tries to appeal towards all audiences. So yes, it's not going to appeal towards major streamlined Gundam fans or people who are coming into Gundam. It's not going to appeal to a lot of Gundam fans in the sense that we're going to see a dark story. We're going to see a war-torn story or characters that have been driven to the fight or conflict or anything like that. What we're following around is just middle schoolers basically trying to participate in a tournament. And literally, it's almost slice of lifey. We got a lot of the shonen-esque portions with the fights of the mobile suits and the cool little systems, but we also get very differences in that it's just mostly following their lives. So we get to follow a little bit of their comedic antics and stuff like that, meeting different characters. So that's what I'm talking about when it's very lighthearted. Nothing's really super serious. Outside of that one, I'm trying to like just put my thoughts into it. Like the best way I could really put this series to in that kind of frame of mind, in difference, like it's homaging and differences from Gundam, right? So we're set in a real world, and in this real world, they basically use Gunpla to play in a video game system or a video game based-esque system where they will battle out their Gunpla to see who is the better pilot. Fighter, I'm not sure how you want to put it. Let's just put it under a fighter, right? And you get a lot of different little antics and material out of that, so give or take. Much of the series, and I don't know if it's a true inspiration or not, I feel is very much like G Gundam, right? They take a lot of like the fiery elements, especially with Rei's character, basically, or Reiji's character. They take a lot of his energy and whatnot. I feel like it's something from like Domon almost. But we got a lot of this G Gundam like shonen heart strength, like fighting to be the best Gunpla battler and stuff like that. We also get these tournament arcs. So if you're familiar with shonen anime, a lot of times that shonen anime also has these tournament arcs. Well, the whole entire series itself is literally building up towards the tournament itself. So we got our first half of the series introducing us to a lot of our characters, getting familiar with them, going through some of their little antics and adventures. And then when we build up and when we finally cascade in towards the actual tournament itself, that's where really things go off from there. But it's a very straightforward anime. There's nothing too much crazy or special about it besides some weird elements. Sorry about that. So that's where so talk about weird elements in this series here. It's also something that we haven't seen in the Gundam series yet, which is fantasy-based elements. So we kind of have a funny idea about Reiji's character. I'm not going to spoil too much here, but we kind of get these little bit of a fantasy elements with Reiji's character alongside with some of the fights themselves too. So it's a little bit unique in that sense. So it's like trying to base it in some level of reality, but at the same time having some level of fantasy. And not just talking about, the sci-fi fantasy of it all, but something a little bit more to it. They dive a bit more into the series, but I just thought it was kind of a little bit fascinating and unique with this series itself. As I was mentioning earlier too, this series does an interesting job of kind of meshing and homaging Gundam with non-Gundam fans. So they keep it kind of neutral by talking about Gundam's mobile suits as Gunpla. They keep it very neutral at that level where, yes, Gundam fans could relate to it because, some of us have actually bought Gundam models. I myself have bought a Gundam model and more than that, but we can relate to that. And then, of course, with non-fans, they're coming into it as an anime, or they're aware about Gundam, or they're aware about models. So they try to keep it in line with just that kind of factor. I think they did a great job of just like making it more of a streamlined series. making it more accessible, making it a lot more fun to watch. It's not like I know like a lot of people have issues watching Gundam itself sometimes because they're, a war drama is not exactly what people are always interested in. So this anime in particular, and I call it an anime, it's not too much like a Gundam series because it doesn't fit in the Gundam continuity necessarily, but it is Gundam itself. Really, it just is it's an interesting job of, again, incorporating including people, both fans and non-fans alike. They throw in, for fans, for an example, they throw in a lot of homages, a lot of references, and of course, different mobile suits. We see in Gundams too. We see all sorts of different suits and Gundams from various series in the past. Various series. We also get a lot of nice mashups. That's a cool thing about this series, that we get to have like different parts being mashed in together with each other, really creating unique designs or really cool looking Gundams or mobile suits. So I thought that was really, really cool, really, really neat. Something we don't get in any other Gundam series for any general portion of it. Other than that, like this, I will tell you this much. As much as I joked about how Gunpla constantly being referenced or used in this series, they really emphasize like the love, the admiration, the desire to build Gunpla and fight with their Gunpla. It's really the key point. Kind of like Pokemon's like befriending, not really capturing, but befriending different Pokemon and having this amazing journey and sort of and that sort of thing. Very similar with Build Fighters, but they really, really amp up the whole love for Gunpla. Again, it's more or less not really an anime turn into a product. It's more of a product turned into an anime. So this whole entire focus about Gunpla is, of course, like trying to sell you more Gunpla and stuff like that. And it kind of grits at times. For me, it doesn't grit me as much. I can see how it might grit others though, because it's constantly thrown in your face. But as much as this series does get that word Gunpla thrown into your face, kind of really does get you want to make Gunpla. I'm not kidding you. This is the second time I've watched this series. I've almost kind of banned my wife from watching it. Long story short, we both had watched this series together, and my wife, who has no interest in Gundam whatsoever, wanted to build Gunpla. She's seen my models before, and she thought that was really, really cool. She like myself, like we like to like do like arts and crafts kind of stuff and like make different things. So it's in her nature to want to do that, and this really, really inspired her. For me, I had inclination to want to build Gunpla again because I've not built Gundam models in forever. So after watching this series, we actually dug through and like found other models that we have not built from my collection and start building from that. So yeah, this series will really inspire you to want to build Gunpla. I will not kid you. And I warn you, if you do not want to get attached to products and stuff like that, you might want to stay away from this series. But in all honesty, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. Well, it's going to be good for Sunrise and everybody else that sells models, but I don't know. It's a great inspiration. It really draws people in. That's the one thing I really want to talk really positive about this series. Again, homage and respect to the Gundam series, the fans themselves too, but it also does its best to really incorporate and try to bring people who have no idea what Gundam is, who has no interest in Gundam whatsoever, and really correlate and really build things together. I thought it was just really interesting that at the time that I had originally watched this, and this is my second viewing, but my first viewing, my wife doesn't care for Gundam, and myself, a huge Gundam fan, watched this together. She was able to enjoy this as an anime series and have a desire to build Gunpla. Me, as a Gundam fan, wanting to watch this as well, enjoyed this as a Gundam fan and wanted to build Gunpla again. And Shazam, we started building Gunpla together. So I think that's just kind of a funny, unique kind of a thing, fun thing itself. Just want to share that with you guys. I do want to also talk about the other two portions of this series, because this series is not just by itself. Oh no, it's incorporated with ONAs, or original net animations. Those are basically shorts that were online originally. Now they are now available on Blu-ray. Give me one moment here. I was trying to resist this beforehand, but I couldn't help but not want to like just use that example. Oh, look at this big boy. Look at this big boy. Say hi, Nero. See how sleepy he is? He's just sitting here in my lap. Okay. Let me put him back on my lap here. All right, buddy. Don't get all wakey. So bear with me for a moment here, folks. So, as I had already mentioned here, the Gunpla series, as you kind of saw on the front cover, here it is right here. But the other two things I want to talk about is actually in this special edition. Now, for Build Fighters, they had two things that came out for in particular. One was called GM's Counterattack and Gundam Build Fighters Battlogue. Now, with those two, they were ONAs or original animations, only found originally online. They are now accessible through Right Stuff's Blu-ray right here. Not bad pricing too. But they're very short ONAs here, and they do play relevance towards the series itself. In fact, they have like nice little conclusions or tie-ins with the sequel series, which I'll be covering in a little bit too. As for GM's Counterattack, and I'm just going to give you a quick little synopsis here, right? It's a 30-minute ONA, very, very short, but treated like another episode. Basically, it takes place after the series has ended. Literally, the sequel or somewhat, I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. But basically, utilizing this lovely image here, although I don't have nothing for GM Counterattack, but basically, Sei and his friends are trapped by the Gunpla Mafia and must fight their way out. That is basically the story of GM's Counterattack. In fact, here's the funny thing. I thought GM's Counterattack, it has to do something with GMs, which there are GMs involved in the little short. But really, GM was abbreviated for Gunpla Mafia. Yeah. This series does have a lot of fun with like punny kind of things or nice little knocks at stuff. When it comes to GM's Counterattack, though, it's a nice little in-between or kind of a bridge between Gundam Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try. They have a lot of fun little homages again to a lot of little cameos slash knockbacks to the Gundam series itself. And they do have a nice, like, good amount of fights in there. It's pretty fast. I feel like this entire 30-minute episode itself could have been stretched out into a longer like movie, or you could have turned into almost half of a season of a show, right? Another 25 more episodes. But what we got was compressed into 30 minutes. It was like a little bit of story, then fight, and then it ends. Pretty nice, well-contained, very, very fun short, though. I really enjoyed it. Nice little ending, if you will, for Build Fighters, as it is a sequel. Also gives a lot more to character building for Sei right here, which was really, really nice, since we do focus on him a lot. Another one I want to talk about, too, regarding that. So that's all I have to really talk about GM Counterattack. It's a 30-minute short. There's not a whole lot I could really go into, unless I really want to dive into, but I don't want to spoil it too much for you guys. But if you're asking me if it's a recommended watch or anything like that, I think it would be a perfect opportunity. Like, if you do watch Build Fighters, watch GM's Counterattack as well. Again, gives more character building for Sei right here, and there's a lot of the fights are a lot of fun to watch. Aside from that, alongside with this one right here, we have the Battlogue episodes. Now, it's gonna be weird because I'm gonna have to break this up into two parts with the Battlogue parts, and I'll cover the rest of them in the Try review. But basically, the Gundam Build Fighters Battlogue basically is another 5 short episodes that cover so 5 short ONA episodes. Basically, they're roughly about 11 minutes a piece, and each story kind of varies. We have 2 episodes that basically cover from Gundam Build Fighters, and the rest of them come from or either bridge into Build Fighters Try. for this review here, I'm going to be covering basically episodes 1 and 5, since they are the only ones that are really pertinent to Build Fighters. Granted, episode 4 does feature characters from both Try and Build Fighters, but Fighters and Try, but I'm going to treat that one more like Try, since the way combat is like. So all in all, with the Battlogue, the first episode, again, this is not a whole lot to talk about. The fighting in this episode was really, really fun. I like a lot of the homages with using like Char, Ribbons, and Amuro, and a lot like the very end, a CCA reference. I thought that was kind of cool, really, really unique and fun. Not super unique. I mean, we've seen this kind of parodied at times, but I think that was just kind of cool and nice. But it was a fun little fight. Wish it could be a little bit more, but that's all right. The last episode, which is the 5th episode of Battlogue, probably is a really good, solid episode, and I would recommend that viewing on that one. It gives a nice final fight between Sei and Yuki, which is another character in the series, or basically the Meijin. But they have a nice little like final fight, and it really completes Sei's character. I'm not going to go too much into that, but it really completes his character, gives it a nice little finesse, and then a literal finish for Build Fighters. It really concludes everything for a Build Fighters perfectly, I think. And then literally like branching us towards going to Try Fighter, or Fighters Try. I definitely will. If anything else, if you're gonna watch the Battlogue and if you don't care like to watch all the episodes, even though they're short, right? People go like, I got time and I don't want to waste my time and watch something I don't care about. I definitely would recommend, if you watch Build Fighters, watch GM's Counterattack and the 5th and final episode of Battlogue to really get the full sense of Build Fighters. I feel like those are nice supplemental episodes that go beyond the final episode of Build Fighters and really just finishes off the series nicely. Not saying that Build Fighters doesn't end nicely itself. I like the way how it ended, but just having those little extra ones adds more to it. Last thing I really want to talk about this series, and just really want to hit home with it. Again, as much of it is a very different Gundam series, not having anything at all really to be correlated with the Gundam franchise. It's so loose with the core elements, it's not even funny. But the one thing is going to be still consistent with it between like any other Gundam series and Build Fighters is the action. A lot of the action in this series is a lot of fun and exciting. Yes, there might be cliched moments, and you go like, well, I already know who's probably going to win and stuff like that. But it's not so much as who's going to win or how you can predict it. It's more or less watching the fights. And the fights themselves are well animated, really, really exciting. Different techniques and different moves are being used in combination or unison with like unique Gundams and mobile suits or unique Gunpla. It's really fun to watch this entire series. It's a word I'm going to be using a lot. It's just fun because seriously, this is not like one of those Gundam series where you have to like pay so much of attention to what's going on. It's literally like a day-to-day life kind of a thing. You can literally skip an episode and you'll probably be fine the next one over. There are some that do have pertinence itself, but in all honesty, it's very lighthearted. It's very fun. Takes itself seriously to some moments, but in all, it really just lets go, lets loose. And it's more like a celebration of Gundam. As a Gundam fan and how I view it, it's more of a celebration of Gundam and welcoming to new fans. I think the action does this series very much justice. If anything else, and what would make a lot of other Gundam fans upset is like the whole story and stuff like that, they don't want to deal with that, that's fine. But I think the action is really where it's at for a Gundam fan. And for people who just generally like anime or are interested in Gundam, I think this is a nice little spot where they can jump in there, jump into the Gundam franchise, enjoy the series, acknowledge some of these cameos, these homages, right? And then when they later go into a Gundam series, or if you go into a Gundam series and you've never seen it before, you're like, oh, I remember this was in Build Fighters and stuff like that. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know they were referencing this. Oh, that's where this is from? Oh, that's so cool. That's the sort of thing. And again, it's that celebration of Gundam. So I really like how what Build Fighters tries to do. And I really just push away a lot of the naysayers about this series or the build series itself. But yeah, that's what I want to say about that one. I kind of want to get into spoilers. There isn't a whole lot of spoilers I want to talk about this. It's primarily talking about cameos and the final episode. So you guys can just skip on ahead if you don't want any spoilers. If you're watching this on the stream, just mute me for now until you see the spoiler banner being removed. All right, so let me go ahead and just talk about some spoilers here. So first and foremost, like I mentioned already, I love a lot of the cameos and the appearances in this series. There's a ton of like character lookalikes, mobile suits and Gundams, battle locations like Axis. Am I mixing them up between the Tri Fighters and this? Because where we had Dawn's Island in here, we had Abaraku. We got certain other locations. It's just, again, we got so many cool things that you can pick from all the other Gundam series. But I think the best one that really cascades, I mean, Rama Rawl's almost a main character. He's more of a side character, but still. But if we want to talk about something that's really like the grandiose, right, of all cameos and homages, episode 23. Sorry about that, folks. Got a little bit dry there. But episode 23 has the most cameos character-wise. It is set in a Gunpla festival or carnival, so we get a lot of characters that kind of show up or reappear in this particular episode. It's funny, like, I think this is the longest episode for me to watch because I kept on pausing the episode just so I could name off all the references and, of course, notate it and stuff like that. But it was just fun catching a lot of the references. I think the biggest ones, though, is like I mentioned, this is a homage, though, but I feel like this is like a what if. So if you try to tie in all the Gundam universes together, at some point, yes, Gunpla Build Fighters is in the same universe or the same universe over a span of time. It makes you kind of think, like, what if these characters kind of got resurrected or put back? So this particular episode I want to mention, though, is because we see a lot of our characters, good or bad, reappear in this particular episode. And either they're like younger versions of themselves or older versions or like just how they were, right? But I think the most touching ones I have seen were the specific families, right? There are certain scenes where we saw family, like a family of Cecily from F91. There was a screen cap of little Cecily with her brother Doriel, her mother, and Kurozo or Iron Mask. Also, like, well, we've never seen Iron Mask without his mask, but like knowing that that's Dorel and Cecily, and we know what her mother looks like too. That's clear cut. That's gonna be Kurozo, and I was like, oh my god, that's crazy how they are building Gunpla together and stuff like that, and they're happy. I'm like, it's kind of sad and tragic because we know what happens in F91. That's the thing. But it's nice to see something happy like that. This is not just for them, but we see it with a couple of other families that had tragic moments in their own series. Another family that we got to see was Domon's family, Domon from G Gundam. We got a young Domon with Kyoji and his mother and his father, and they're all working on building Gunpla. Well, Domon's trying to build, I believe he was trying to build the Burning or the Shining Gundam, and then you have the Spike or Spiegel Gundam Shadow or Spiegel Gundam already created with Kyoji. And I was just like, oh my god, that's just so sad and tragic. But I'm like, it's kind of nice to see them that they're actually happy and they're in a good environment and stuff like that. Not like what actually happens in the series much later on. The biggest one that got me, though, and I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Granted, like, the characters I already mentioned already had like tragic moments with their families, but none can be as tragic as this one, which is we also get a another small scene, it's like another screen cap, and it's with Uso from Victory Gundam. It's Uso and his mom and his dad. And I was like, oh. And if I remember, he's showing them his completed V2 Gundam that he just built. And I was like, that's sweet and nice. And it's like you watch these episodes, like watch this episode and watch those scenes, right? And you don't think much of it if you're not a Gundam fan. Fans of the Gundam franchise might catch on to it if you watch those series, and if you haven't watched those series, you might not catch on. You'll be like, "Oh, that's so sweet, that's so cute." And then you get the fans like myself who've watched everything, who are familiar with it, and you see those scenes, it's just like, "Oh man, that's tragically sad." But I'm happy to see that it's a much more happier scene with them. And like, so after all the things that have happened in the past, we come to this current time frame. Maybe they've reincarnated and they have a happier life, a happier ending. So that's something I just wanted to talk about, particularly about episode 23. As for the final episode, it wasn't that bad of a final episode. So everything kind of builds up. The tournament ends, but ooh, excuse me, I apologize. I haven't eaten anything or anything like that, so I'm like, oh, my body's fighting me. I'm surprised that the cats are well behaved too. Anyways, so as for the final episode itself, though, yes, we got like the tournament ending and stuff like that. We got the final fight between Yuki. I can't remember his name again. My brain's kind of derping right now. I got totally offset by everything. Apologize for that. All right, let me start again. So, and as for the final episode, it was a decent final episode. I can't really complain too much of it. So everything building up to it, we got everything that finalized. By that point, we got the tournament at its conclusion, or finished off the episode prior, and then crazy stuff kind of happens with the crystal itself. So then we get the actual like everybody combining their strengths together to destroy the crystal and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of cool. One thing I really do like though is having an epilogue. As much as like some people like, well, we didn't care, like these characters might be too bland or what. I'm like, you know what? I can't disagree with that necessarily, but what I do like is that when we end a series, we end it off and we get to conclude with our characters. The final episode gives me just that. It gives us time to have an epilogue with our characters. It might not be so grandiose, but we get to still spend more time with our characters, get more familiar with them. So I really like that a lot. Not as much as like others, like other series or other things, but I like to have my little epilogues and spend a little bit more time with our characters, really finalize things and not just end it like that. But yeah, that's what I had to say about that. As for that, let me jump into my next section here, which is my favorite suits of the series. Now, if you're not familiar with this segment here, just like with every other Gundam series that comes into the franchise, we're introduced to a whole new slew of suits, redesigns, battleships, those sort of things. Build Fighters, again, is a little bit unique in this perspective because a lot of it is stuff that we've seen before. A lot of mobile suits, a lot of Gundams from previous series, so it's a little bit hard to say that this is unique in itself. But I digress, and I say the one thing that is truly unique is that we get a lot of suits that are mix and match. A lot of different suits that are utilizing different things from each other and so forth. So I thought that the only thing that's truly unique about it, we get redesigns, basically. So a lot of them are okay, kind of cool looking, depending on what your taste in mobile suits and Gundams, depending on the franchise itself too. I don't have a whole lot in this series that I really, really liked. I only had a couple of them. Wasn't a huge fan of the main Gundams, and everything was all right. The designs are not bad. Not saying any of them are bad. They're all cool looking in their own respect, but nothing really screams out as amazing to me. But there were a couple that made it out here. So first and foremost, the one that made it out is the Gundam X Mao. We barely even see this mobile suit or this Gundam in action. Like we see it in the final episode. Oh, I pulled up the wrong one. I apologize. It's not this one. Oh my goodness, where is it? It's not the Gundam X Mao. I apologize. So starting off with the first one on my list here, it's not a big list though. is the Crossbone Gundam Mao. Really, really like this Gundam here. It's a really cool, simplistic design itself. Too bad we can't really see it here. It has the crossbone gun swords, basically. I actually like them. It's very weird at times because it's just like it doesn't look like a gun, but it is, and then it doesn't really look like a sword because the way it's being held, but it is. But I thought like in unison with the crossbone itself, because the chest, can I actually show it here? The chest actually opens up to do a satellite cannon, and when Mao does this, stretches out his arms like that, and then everything kind of like lights up a bit. So I thought it was really, really cool, really devastating Gundam in the final episode. So I liked it. Simplicity in itself. I would actually love the fight because I kind of like digging that the crossbones alongside with the skull on the chest. I think that's kind of unique in the Gundam franchise. I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, we've got crossbone Gundams in the manga and stuff like that, but not like this. Not like this. Sorry about that, folks. All right. And then, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of them. My last one. This one, it stole my heart before I even watched this series. Oh, you might have seen it. I'm not sure. Oh, Nero, come here. Oi, come here, biggie boy. My biggie boy, come here. All right. You want to jump off? You can jump off. You want to sit back down? You can sit back down. What would you like to do, buddy? And he looks like he wants to sit. I'm sorry. I'm not prepared again. I thought I was prepared. Guess not. But now I'm prepared again here, folks. And for my favorite suit in this entire series, it's the Kuma 3 Bear Guy 3. So, funny thing about this suit, I actually bought the model and I built it ages ago. I've never seen this series before. And I saw this as a model kit, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta have me a bear guy. This thing is adorably cute. I really, really like it. And then when I got to watch it in the series, it made me even love this Gunpla even more. I mean, look, you can see it right there, animation-wise, right? And then you can see the model itself. Look how cute this is. Hold on. Look how cute this is. I really like this suit here. And then Cheetah's backstory for this suit is really, really cutesy and nice. I just thought it's just a funny, cute little suit, something very unique, something we don't get to see often in the Gundam franchise. So like I said, like I mentioned before too, like how this series has a lot of homages to the Gundam franchise. I think it's a nice little spin on what they do with that material. And sometimes going off the beaten path is really, really nice. Get to see a lot more different scenery things, and that's something what I really liked about it. So we take in a guy and make it really cutesy, and yeah. But the Bear Guy 3rd, or Bear Guy 30, I think she calls it Bear Guy the 3rd, if I remember correctly. Sorry about that, folks. Again, oh my goodness, it is early morning stream. But yes, the Bear Guy the 3rd is my favorite one from the series. But I digress here. And let me go ahead and alert our folks here who do not want any spoilers. But yeah, that's all I really got to say regarding like the spoiler stuff and my favorite suits of this series here. Hopefully you all got the come back into here. So I do want to start with my next segment regarding I am new to the Gundam franchise. Should I watch Gundam Build Fighters first? Yes. Actually, I'm going to go against a lot of what I've said in the past too. for this particular series. So I'm saying yes, despite that it goes against a lot of what is expected from the Gundam franchise, right? Like, this series is not a good expectation of when you're going into the Gundam franchise. It is absolutely different from every other Gundam series besides any other build series, like stuff like Build Fighters Try, Build Divers, or Divers Re-Rise. Much different in comparison to the entire franchise versus those. Let's put those aside. This is why I have a hard time saying, like, well, I don't really want to consider this a Gundam series, because Build Fighters feels more like an anime series. Like something that's outside of the Gundam franchise. Now, Gundam is anime itself, but it has its own themes, it has its own elements, it has its own consistency through every single series so far in the franchise. Build Fighters and everything that in the Build lineup differs from the Gundam franchise, but utilizes Gundams and mobile suits and Gunpla in homage and respect towards the Gundam franchise. So it's a little bit hard for me right there. So this is where I say, take away all the Gundam core elements and a lot of the expectations of what a Gundam series is like. Build Fighters does a really great job of like making it accessible for everybody, fans and non-fans alike. Again, you could jump into this series. This is, I wouldn't say necessarily it's standalone-ish, but it's the first of its series. It's standalone by itself, really. And you can add on more to it with GM Counterattack, Battlogue, and of course, when we go into the sequel, Tri Fighters, which doesn't have a whole lot compared to this. And you'll find out when you hear my review on that one. But key point is that it's standalone, it's accessible, and it makes it more so accessible for both fans and non-fans alike. Again, for fans, a lot of what we're already familiar with, what we've seen in previous series, but paying a lot of respect to that. At the same time, making a series that's a lot more lighthearted, a lot more fun, a lot more jump-inable, right? Like, you can get into the series, you can just pop an episode, and you can just jump into it. And have a lot more fun with it, too, for the non-fans. And to get them interested, not only in Gundam itself, but also in Gunpla. I really want to aim it for Gundam itself, though. But it's a seriously very lighthearted entry point into the Gundam franchise. So what if you want to introduce someone who's even younger, right? And maybe a lot of the war elements might not be that great, or even some of the darker stuff, like stuff that you would see in Zeta, Victory, or Iron-Blooded Orphans, might not be great for a kid, right? Depending on how you want to look at it or how you want to raise them up. No judgment here, but this series is accessible for everybody. It applies for everybody. And it's a fantastic entry point for anybody, young or older. And we'll get them into Gundam, basically. So I think this is a fantastic jumping point. Be it you a longtime hardened Gundam fan, or you have absolutely no idea about what Gundam is. And just like my entire thing is, I'm new to the Gundam franchise. Should I watch this first? Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll have fun. You get a lot of little homages and cameos. And then when you do jump into other Gundam series, you go like, hey, I remember this character. Hey, I remember this suit. Hey, this location looks really, really familiar. I think you're going to get a blast. It's kind of like the vice versa if you think about it too. Fans are going to be like me, go like, well, I remember that suit. I know that character. I know that location. Then you flip it around for non-fans who watch this series first and then go to any other series and do exactly that. I remember this suit. Oh, I know that character, or I recognize that character. Oh, I recognize this place. So I think that's kind of cool. Nice little opposite paralleling, you know? And as for a overall, again, Build Fighters is just a fun series overall. It is definitely a very unconventional Gundam series, but it works so well. It's a very straightforward shonen story that has a lot of build up towards the championship arc, and it has a lot of character building and tons and tons and tons of Gundam homages, cameos, suits, locations. Honestly, I feel like this series can appeal to anybody. be it you a longtime Gundam fan or a person who's never watched Gundam in their entire life and coming into this series. And while some elements might not really be compatible for certain particular portions of what I've just described, Gundam fans not liking a lot of the storyline because it's not like in lieu with anything Gundam, or anime fans just not really caring about a lot of the Gundam aspects or whatnot. What really is going to drive this series for those people is the action in this series. It's a lot of fun to watch, unique and interesting. Honestly, Gundam Build Fighters is an easily accessible series and a very easy series to get into. Again, be it that you are a fan or a non-fan of Gundam. That being said, Gundam Build Fighters gets a amazing 4 out of 5. Yeah, this was a really fun series to watch. I know I was kind of like scattered a little bit here because it's a very different Gundam series. It's hard to really describe other than talking about what is directly itself and how it's not correlating to Gundam necessarily, but then it does. That being said, kind of feel like building more Gunpla now. But other than that, though, I do want to thank you for watching this review here. If you haven't already, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about Gundam Build Fighters? Did you like the series? Did you not like the series? What do you think about my comments about the series? Did you agree with me? Disagree with me? I want to hear it all. Leave something down below. And until the next nerdy reviews, I will see you guys next time. Take care. Sorry about that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into our next one here. I kept that one like 40 minutes. That's actually not bad. I think that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can keep Tri-Fighters even shorter, because in all honesty, and I'll tell you guys right now, so you'll hear it from me. This could be shorter. All right. Wait, one last thing too before anything else that will disturb me or cause me to do whatever. Super side note, I really do love my model. I built her like ages ago. And one of the few models that whenever I pop out my models, I will always pop out the bear guy. It's literally adorable and cute. I love this thing. One of my favorite models. It's also one of the models where I feel like I did not have to do anything else special to it. Like I didn't have to put any details because it looks exactly like it does from the anime in its own standpoints. Also, surprisingly enough, a lot of the nipper points are not visible really, and it looks really good. A lot of my other models tend to have like nipper points or look like garbage at times. A lot of my older ones. So, really love my bear guy. She's my pride and joy. Granted, I did not do any painting or anything like that. And honestly, there's no outlines required because all of it's very detailed in itself. I can't see if there's any requirements for line. Possibly. Maybe in the joints. Maybe the joints. Anyways. Sorry. Oh, hey, don't hit my keyboard. His tail is hitting my keyboard. Put my hand right here. Can't do that. Anyways. Hey there, and welcome to another Nerdy Reviews. I'm the Absolute Nerd, but you can call me Briston. And today, we're going to be reviewing Gundam Build Fighters Try. Now, before I begin, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys about this series, whether you like it or not. Or if you agree with my opinions. I'm just making it awkward. Anyways, let's go ahead and begin with the review here. And let's just start off with the story simplicity here. So this story, again, is... Oh, sorry. So let's go ahead and begin with the story here. The story takes place 7 years after the end of Build Fighters. We follow our characters here, Fumina Hoshino, Sekai Kamiki, and Sei Iori as they join together as the Tri-Fighters and compete in the 13th Gunpla Battle Tournament. Just like the first series itself, it's very straightforward with the story. It doesn't really deviate from that and doesn't get too crazy with it as well. This is a 25 episode series that originally aired in Japan on October 8th of 2014, a year, not quite a year, but a little bit a year after the first series aired. This is I do apologize. Huzzah, my Digimon digivolved. I need to do a video about them now. Anyways, I'm sorry. Why is this thing not correcting itself? I feel like that's incorrect. No, yeah, it's incorrect. I'm just like looking around, making sure everything. Anyways, so this is a direct sequel to the Build Fighters series here, with a decent time skip itself. Now, while it is a sequel in itself, it's more like a sequel within the same timeline or universe itself, not so much as a sequel, and we really deal with a lot of our characters. Yeah, some of our characters do return from Build Fighters, but most of them are just either referenced or we see like cameos of them, like very brief cameos. And this is where I'm going to really strongly say, and this is going to go with a long part of my review here, is that when it comes to Build Fighters Try, it's not a requirement to watch Build Fighters. In fact, they're two separate series, but they're two sides of the same coin, or two sides of the same coin itself. But we get some similar elements and some things that are kind of pertinent to each other, but in all honesty, flip a coin and you can honestly watch either one of these two series and it wouldn't really matter at all. Sorry, I got really, really distracted right there. I'm getting so many people messaging me. It's driving me nuts. And I really need to fix that sound for my computer. So I apologize for that too. What? I'm getting messages right now. Sorry. Okay. I'm streaming. I try to like lock myself out. I'm like, leave me alone. Just back away. Back away, people. I'm streaming. Like outside stuff. Try not to get things interfere with my streaming. It's hard. Honestly, it's really, really hard. Let me just read about my notes here real fast. Honestly, when I was talking about Build Fighters, I was kind of like scattered in thought because my notes were kind of scattered. It was much more scattered because I don't have a whole lot to say about the series because it's like it feels like any other traditional anime, right? It feels like watching a regular anime series. It's not like watching a Gundam series where there's so much to really dive into. There is more. There's not enough substance in each of these series. They're literally like snacks compared to like a full course meal. Where with a Gundam series, there's a lot to, digress and really dive into with like the lore, what's going around the world, characters, symbolisms, themes, those sort of things. And with the Build Fighter series, it's very straightforward. It's very clear cut. It's telling a story. It has its characters, and it's really more so focused on having fun with the material, right? And it's not really concerning itself trying to tell this overarching story. It's not really concerned with itself trying to relay to you a message or tie things in together. So I think that's something that's really unique when it comes to the Build series. In all honesty, and I'm going off topic here, but in all honesty here, when it comes to watching the Build series versus the Gundam franchise, all of it's really lighthearted fun. It's more traditional in line with anime itself, like slice of life kind of stuff, shonen anime and stuff like that, versus what Gundam truly is. And I could see where a lot of fans might not like that a lot because they want a war story. They want really detailed characters, and they don't want these simplistic, almost one-dimensional characters. Granted, a lot of them do change, but sometimes they don't. And I get that. I like that too. But I can tell you this, after watching 30 plus series, movies, OVAs, ONAs, shorts, I can tell you that this is very welcoming. I really, really enjoyed watching, and I'm watching the Build series right now. Like, I'm really enjoying a lot of the Build series stuff. It's something different. Maybe it's because I've watched so much of Gundam right now, I'm having a little bit of a Gundam overload, and something different is nice. That could be it. But at the same time, I had watched the Build series, at least Fighters and Fighters Try, not like after doing a whole Gundam marathon like I'm doing right now. I watched them separately. So when I got them on Blu-ray, I watched them as I watch them like I normally do, or watch anything else. My wife and I sat down, we watched both series. And I really, really liked it. In the same way that I felt about the series when I first time watched it, the same way I still feel about today. They're really, really enjoyable series. And despite that it's not truly like a Gundam series, I still hold it within the same aspects of the Gundam franchise. It's not going to be the same, not going to be the same perspectives. But yeah, that's how I think about that in general. Just trying to get it out there. My true feelings when it comes to the Build series. I'm just trying to make sure everything's going all right, because it seems like my stream's kind of being funny here. Let me just do a refresh here. Just make sure everything's looking good. I see some funny things on my stream, and I see some funny things on my system here. I'm like, what's going on? Anyways, I deviated way too much, and I went on a little bit of a tangent here. Let me get right back into what I wanted to talk about. So yes, Build Fighters Try is a direct sequel to Build Fighters with a decent time skip of 7 years. Now, even with a 7-year time skip, and some characters either becoming... my gosh, I apologize. Oof. I do not know why I'm feeling all like, ugh, and stuff like that. Oh no, that's a lie. I haven't eaten. So my body's fighting back with me, and I'm punishing myself. To be fair, if the kitties have to starve, I'll starve myself, and it's fine. I got an hour's time, so I'm gonna swear to God, I cannot not stop things up. All right, let me get rid of that alarm too. I swear, everything wants to bug me right now. Like, come on, guys, just leave me be. Back to the review. I apologize. So, yes, Gundam Build Fighters Try is a direct sequel to Build Fighters with a decent 7-year time skip. Now, even though while we have this time skip and some characters do reappear from Build Fighters, we get mostly one character that's reoccurring throughout almost every single episode, and then some characters either have a very brief cameo or like multiple cameos through some episodes. In all honesty, though, between Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try, it's not really a huge requirement to watch Build Fighters first. These series, or these two shows, are basically two sides of the same coin. You can literally just start on one or the other, and it wouldn't really truly matter. Might have some moments from the first series that might have some relevance towards Try, but in all honesty, it's very different. I do want to say though, and I'm going to try and keep this one really short on this one though, and I usually talk about animation, music, and dubbing, but in all honesty, everything is pretty much the same from there. I mean, it's only been a year since the production of the first series going into the sequel. Not much of the animation has changed. The music pretty much is about the same, and the dubbing, or at least the dubbing in this case, is not terribly bad. It could be better though. Now, I thought that the dubbing in Build Fighters was pretty bad. I'm going to say Try might be slightly worse. Slightly worse is what I'm going to use. Now, everyone sounds and fits their rules for the most part. It's always going to be that one character or something that just sticks out. So Chino was the character that stuck out in the first series. Sekai is the one that sticks out in this one. So the voice actress that voices for Sekai, for the first like 9 episodes or so, we got an idea what Sekai's voice sounds like, and it fits his character. He's very very shonen-esque, very like Adam, like go get him and all that stuff like that. But big but. About the 10th episode past that, when we start getting introduced to like some like foreign characters, like characters that like either came from Britain or like study abroad and something that had a British accent to them, Sekai started having like a weird British accent himself. And the voice actress that has voiced for Sekai doesn't voice for any of the other characters, or doesn't voice for any of the characters that has his British accent. So I got a little bit confused and lost, like, what happened during the dubbing here? What happened to the voicing in the voicing sessions, the recordings? Did they just kind of like whatever and just let this voice actor go about it? Or was there something more to it? I don't know what happened, but past the 10th episode onwards, Sekai kept on going between his normal voice and then this British voice. And I felt like this voice actress kept on breaking. And that was very distracting while watching this series. I mean, like, I hear people when they complain about like, oh, well, dubs are bad. I'm like, no, dubs are generally good. As long as a voice actor or actress can stick to the tonalities and the way that the character speaks and stuff like that, I don't think we're going to have an issue. This is a very good example of bad voice acting. Or not voice acting, but yeah, well, actually, either bad voice acting or bad dubbing in general. Because shouldn't be breaking a character's voice like that unless they're having some kind of like character change or whatnot, but there's nothing going on with Sekai here, so. Don't know why he started speaking half British at times, and then goes right back to his like shonen-esque voice. I don't understand why, but that was a big break for me. Really, really irritating. Other than that, like I mentioned before too, so two sides of the same coin. Now with Build Fighters, we focus mostly on single fights or single competitions, right? And that was exciting itself. Try gives it a three times the amount and switches it up. Instead of just doing single fights, they're doing now team battles of 3-on-3 basically. Not only do they do team battles of 3-on-3, kind of like similar with the other one where we had like different schools fighting each other, we have now different schools, but more or less different teams from schools fighting each other. So I thought that was really cool, unique, because what it does, unlike the first series has a lot of fun action. Not saying that this series doesn't have fun action, because it does. But it adds a little bit more to the action itself. It adds a little bit more strategy and tactics behind it. Because now we have 3 team members per team. It changes the dynamics of the fights much more than that. So we see different teams utilizing strategies or techniques and really build on towards that like dynamics of the fight itself. We also get a story dynamics between the 3 because the whole entire series is really focusing, there's no one particular main character. Our main characters are literally these 3 right here. And while we go through the entire series, again, very slice of lifey, very shonen-esque, because we are following a building arc towards the tournament arc itself, so just like the first series. But unlike the first series where we're having, I would say this one has a little bit more slice of lifey and not so much these fantasy elements. We're focusing more on the team building between Sekai, Fumina, and Sei. No, not Sei, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sei. So we get this whole team building between them all, and then really trying to develop themselves as characters or develop their own gunpla, their own fighting styles, and working with each other to progress. So I thought that was a little bit more unique compared to what we had in Build Fighters. So I really liked a lot of those elements there. Again, we had the removal of a lot of the fantasy elements from Build Fighters. It's almost like polar opposites, despite they're in the same universe, right? Like we're all this fantasy stuff about like another world or whatnot, completely removed. We're keeping it now super grounded into reality, and we're just keeping it to that point. So I thought that was really nice, really fun with that one too. I feel like the series has a lot of G Gundam inspiration, so I was looking into like some of the factoids or trivia about this series, and some of it was just unintentional. But I really get a lot of this, not just a shonen vibe, kind of like I got one with the Build Fighters series, but I get still a lot of G Gundam, especially with Sekai and his star burning. If I'm correct, it's either build burning or star burning. I keep getting them mixed up. But with those particular guns, I just feel like we get a lot of that. It's kind of funny because with these 3 here, going right back to fighting itself or like different tactics, we have like Sekai being the close range fighter. We have a range combat fighter with Sei, and then Fumina does support basically. So it's kind of interesting. We have that kind of build, feels very MMO-y, kind of, where we have kind of like tank, DPS, and then healer / support. She's not really a healer, but I'm classifying in that manner, right? So I thought that was kind of cool and unique to that. Let's see. Now for some of the negatives about this series, kind of like what I was talking about with Build Fighters itself too. Very, very different when you compare it to a Gundam series. Much of this is like slice of life and shonen. Very different from the war dramas or conflict-driven stories of majority of the Gundam franchise. Just like its predecessor, it's, again, focusing more so about building up towards a tournament itself and just focusing on the lives, the day-to-day lives, the little silly things, the comedic moments, the fun things, right, of our characters. Nothing really serious goes on in this series. Yes, again, serious moments do occur, but it's not like on the same level of gravity of seriousness from any other Gundam series in the Gundam franchise. Build series withstanding. I have to keep referring it to that way. Again, very reminiscent of other anime shows of its nature, where it's more focused on a product and not on the series itself. So keep it in mind, it's this concept of we have the product first and then we're building a series around it, versus how majority of the Gundam series is we have a series and then we're going to build a product around the series. That's majority of the Gundam franchise. So very much of this series or Build Fighters Try is very reminiscent to things like Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Beyblade, those sort of things. In lieu with those in the nature of lightheartedness and just slice of lifey kind of things, with, of course, the action elements and building up towards our tournament. Let me see here. And going right back to the fights too, like I really like, so honestly, I don't care much for Sekai's fighting because much of it reminds me kind of like Shonen, Fist of the North Star, G Gundam kind of things, where they're just he's calling out all of his attack moves. Cool in its sense, but I just feel like he's just too hot-blooded and so much into it. But I kind of like not just the fighting overall, but I like the styles between these two here. All three of them kind of meshing very well with each other. But I also like watching other teams, how they fight and how they implement their strategies. Whether or not they are successful or not, I still think it's just, again, breathes more life into the fighting sequences and makes things a little bit more interesting. I think the only thing that's going to be negative, though, is that if you watch many series like this, though, not exactly like this, but shonen anime or series akin to this, right? A lot of things kind of fall within that cliched feeling, right? Like you're going to be able to call majority of what's going to happen. It's where I always argue, though, it's not about the end of the story or the destination. It's about the journey. And much of it is about the journey in this series that I really do enjoy. And alongside with that journey, again, I love a lot of this slice of life stuff, a lot of the comedic bits. I still find it funny, even though it's a little bit forced, a bit with some of the relationships that Sekai has with some of the female characters or whatnot. Sekai is a brainless twit who only cares about his school and fighting. Not like school. Talk about his fighting school. And like the girls that are attracted to him and stuff like that, it's just, I find that kind of funny. I enjoy harem animes for that particular reason too. Sometimes it's just like either the obliviousness or just the comedy between the characters trying to romance this one character. So I just find it kind of fun and lighthearted. It's not super serious with that, but I find those elements just enjoyable. Something we don't get a lot in Gundam. I think the closest one we're going to ever get to it was back in Iron-Blooded Orphans, but that wasn't really played up and felt more forced than this. Now, before I get into any spoiler parts, though, I do, just like the Build Fighter section, there are actually shorts I want to talk about in relation to Try. In particular, so with the Build Fighter series, of course, we have Try right here. But we also have the special edition, which also covers basically the Build Fighters Battlogue, in particular to the, I pointed off to it, but particular to the Tri-Fighters, or Fighters Tri, is the Island Wars. So real quick though, and I kind of mentioned this in my Build Fighters, but if you haven't already heard it, so Build Fighters Battlogue are a series of episodes, 5 short 11-minute episodes, basically telling some like expansion on some of our characters or moments and stories with our characters. While it's not an absolutely necessary watch, some of them are pretty fun, and I just want to kind of go over them. So in relation to Tri-Fighters, there's actually 3 episodes relating to Tri-Fighters. In all honesty, though, one of them is kind of like a mix between Tri-Fighters, or Fighters Tri, and Build Fighters, but hear me out on this one. So, the second episode here, so of the episodes I'll be talking about Battlogue, we're talking about episodes 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to kind of mix and match them, though. Well, not mix and match, but switch them out a bit. Episode 2. Basically, we follow a fun little team-up fight with Sei and his rival Minato. I'm like trying to remember his name here. I'm like, did I write his name down? Yeah. Sorry, apologize. Yeah. So the second episode, we follow a fun little team matchup between Sei here and then Minato. Not exactly that they're against each other, but they're teaming up to complete a mission together. It was just fun. There's some really nice little references in that episode there, but other than that, it's a nice little addition towards these characters. As when we had ended off, they ended off on some level of terms, but seeing them like revive some things around, which it's just fun, silly little antics. Let's skip ahead a little bit. And episode 4. Basically, we're following 3 brothers. Actually, we've seen these 2 brothers in the Build Fighters series, and this is where I talk about this is kind of like a merger between the 2, which is a little bit weird. But we have a 3rd brother now. They're doing a little bit of a mission here, and then Yuki does show up later on too. It's a fun and okay fight. It's honestly a skippable episode. It's something I wouldn't even care to rewatch it unless you really, really have to rewatch it, right? But it's skippable for the most part. But the best one is the 4th episode. If you thought this series was already far away, like the Build series overall, so Build Fighters and Build Fighters Tri, I'll throw in Divers and Divers Rewrites, even though we haven't talked about them yet. But if you want to talk about something so far away from the Gundam franchise, you can't get any more further away than the 4th episode of the Battlogue. It is the adventures of Fumiko, or sorry, is it Fumiko? I think it's like, wow, my brain's derping here. I was like Fumiko. Her name is like Fumina Hoshino. And I'm like, Fumika. I'm thinking of it. I'm having a Mikasa Mikazuki issue again. And it's just the names that roll off my tongue. Fumina. And it doesn't help that in the series, they keep flipping between her names, so I don't have her name down at all. She's called Hoshino, and then she's called Fumina. Hoshino, Fumina. I'm like, stick to name, please. I get it with the whole, Japanese calling people by their last name and sometimes calling by the first name if they're very, very acquainted. Anyways, the 4th episode, though, as much as it's very different from I apologize again. Oof. The 4th episode, though, my God, very, very different, but very, very fun. Because we don't just follow Fumina here and Gyanko. I think I'm getting myself ahead and lost here. My notes for this episode, actually, it's only 1 bullet point, by the way. I have a lot to say. I want to talk about it. Trying to just get myself cleared out here, right? Man, this is terrible. Yes? I know you're hungry. 43 minutes to go. Both of you will be fed, I promise. Hold me to that word, folks. Gotta keep these kitties on a time frame. Okay. So, now, as we talk about the Gundam franchise itself and how everything can be distinct or different or far away, I mean, already Build series is far away from and distant from the Gundam franchise itself, right? In its own little world and its own little storytelling in its own genre. And I'm talking about the Build series overall. So I'm talking about Build Fighters Try. I'll even throw in Divers and Divers Rewrites, even though we haven't reviewed them just yet. But the 4th episode in the Build Fighters Battlogue is the adventures of Fumina and Gyanko. At first, when I heard about the title, I thought, like, oh, okay, so we're going to follow the characters themselves and they're going to have like a nice little slice of life story or try to do some kind of romancing with Sekai or something. No. In fact, we're following Fumina and Gyanko as like Gunpla girls, basically. So they're like in their respective suits from the series, basically, just put onto them. And we follow this, like, it's kind of like a merge between, or like making fun of, or I don't know how you want to put it, but I'm going to take it as an homage and having fun with magic girl stories and fantasy tropes and genres. Mashing them all together, and you get this story about these two on an adventure to save a village of bear guys. Yes, saving a village of bear guys. Petite bear guys in more particular, but saving the bear guys. I absolutely love this episode. As far away from everything so far, it's like on the verge of SD Gundam, which I'm not covering, unfortunately, folks. SD Gundam is too far out from the main franchise. This is far enough. This is way far enough. But this one particular episode is so far away. It's like, wow, am I really watching Gundam? Even though it's dealing with like Gundams and mobile suits and stuff like that. But you know what? I had a lot of fun watching that particular episode. By far the best Battlogue episode in the entire Build Fighters Battlogue. Best one. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. Super, super light, super funny. Just enjoyable overall. I could honestly watch either like an Ona series of that or just a full-on 25 episode series of just those two and their adventures together and more to it. I would totally watch that. If it's so far away from Gundam, I at this point I wouldn't care, and I just enjoy it as it is. It's an anime with Gundam stuff. But yeah, definitely a watch on that one, in my opinion. Sorry about that. All right, and then the last one. So outside of the Battlogue stuff, we also have the Island Wars. So this is the last one, actually. So just to give you an idea here, so Build Fighters Try Island Wars is another 30-minute ONA, or an original net animation. Oh my god. Man, I have so many mess ups. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm trying to wake up here. It's weird. I woke up early and I'm still waking up. So, yeah. Great job, Briston. But I got a lot of things to do this week and a lot more I'm going to talk about later on too. So sorry about that. Sorry. Anyways, back to the review. Stay focused, dude. All right. So aside from the Battlogue stuff, we do also have one more thing, which is the Build Fighters Try Island Wars. Now, this is another 30-minute ONA, or original net animation, very similar to Build Fighters' other ONA, which is GM's Counterattack. So another short one that's more of a conclusion, or like a, not a time, but a direct sequel, and finishes off. I always think of more of like a supplemental episode that really, really ties in everything very nicely. And just to give you a brief story on that one here too. So our Tri-Fighters gang is invited to test drive Yajima Trading's new battle system. But strange things begin to happen on to the island that they're on, and the new battle system in particular. That's it in a nutshell. Very much like the GM Counterattack. It's very much short bit of story, but unlike GM Counterattack, we actually spend a little bit more time with our characters, having again more of that slice of life kind of stuff, a lot of that comedic elements that I actually really, really enjoy. And then we get into the fights. Now, the fighting is not as grandiose, and is actually very reminiscing of the final episode of Build Fighters. So it kind of feels a little bit of the same. We kind of have an idea of how it's going to end off, and we already know, but it's just about the journey itself. So the fights itself were fun, interesting. We got to see some newer suits too. But in all honesty, I just enjoyed the entire episode as itself. It was supplemental to Try itself as I would say like a supplemental episode that just adds on more to the epilogue, right? Not saying that we didn't get enough in the final episode. I will talk about that in spoiler section though. But I really did enjoy Island Wars a lot. Definitely something that I will recommend watching that too. If you do watch Try, you might want to add in not just some of the episodes of the Battlogue. You can skip most of those to be honest. But I highly recommend watching at least Island Wars. So that way you have a really nice full completion of watching this series. With that said, let's go ahead and just jump into our spoilers section here. So if you're on our stream, just go ahead and mute me and chill out until you want to get to the final section, and you'll see me remove the banner alert. And for those who want to stick around, let's go ahead and talk about some spoilers here. So there's not a whole lot of spoilers I really want to talk about this series. It's very straightforward with much of the series itself. But it doesn't have as many cameos and homages like the first Build Fighters has. There is still quite a bit though, but not as much. One thing I really want to talk about though is the build-up and then the final episode itself. This one's a lot more straightforward than it was in Build Fighters. Try actually completes the story without going into this crazy fantasy stuff. But what I really liked about the final episode though is that we got a lot more time. A lot more time of an epilogue with all of our characters. It felt more appropriate. Felt really nice. So like we get the kind of like Final Fight-esque, and then the last 15 minutes is just really spending more time with our characters. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted to know what's going to happen to them afterwards. I hate when a series ends after we spent all this time with our characters, building them up, and then we finish up and we don't see the after, right? I wanted to see the payoff of the after. Not just the success, but I want to see the after. We get that with Build Fighters Try. I really liked it a lot. Getting a lot of conclusions with a lot of our characters. Some things are still left in the open here, but that's okay. I mean, it wasn't really going to be answered either way, to be honest. But I really liked a lot of the epilogue stuff, getting more time with our characters, and having a lot of fun with the series overall there. But that's all I really want to talk about. Yeah, it wasn't too much of a spoilers to really talk about. I just didn't want to spoil too much about like expectations of what it ends for people who actually don't want to get spoilers about this series. Other than that, let me just go ahead and jump into, and I didn't really prep myself for this one here. Oopsies, what happened here? Whoa. This is weird. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, my thing's going a little bit haywire. Give me 1 second here. Technical difficulties. Oh, I see it right now. I'm like, don't hit my keys. You're out. Oh my lord. I'm like, give me one moment here. There we go. I don't know why it was fighting me before. It was really fighting me, not letting me like trying to do anything at all. All right, let me just double check the stream here because it's being a little bit cattywampus. All right. Sorry about that, folks, but let me go ahead and jump into our next little section here. Yes, I just want to make sure. All right, so let me go ahead and jump into our next little section right here, folks, which is my favorite suits from this series. Now, if you're not familiar with this little segment here, basically with every introduction or new Gundam series into the Gundam franchise, we're introduced to a whole new set of suits, new redesigns, or just redesigns in general, battleships, those sort of things. Just like Build Fighters, though, Fighters Try doesn't really introduce us to a whole lot of new things necessarily, because much of it is literally mobile suits and Gundams from previous series. Now we get feels like kit bashing, and we get a lot of these other types of Gundams or mobile suits that are utilizing a lot of different parts and pieces from other suits and Gundams. So this series does have a lot of redesigns is how I would like to consider it almost. Some of them are just some outright newer designs. I only have like a handful of them, so let me just go ahead and provide you what I have here. So first and foremost, the top off my list here, unfortunately didn't make it to the final here, was my Bear Guy F, or Bear Guy family. I, again, love my Bear Guys. I got my Bear Guy right here. I still have her. But I love my Bear Guys. In all honesty, I find them very, very super cute, very nice. And the Bear Guy F has a really nice, cute little petite bear guy right behind him. And that thing is a little powerhouse. But I just think that just the overall design is really cute. There isn't too much of a story behind it like China's original Bear Guy, the 3rd, or Bear Guy 3. But it's a really nice suit. I just like it overall. Not too much I want to talk about it, though. My next one I like, and let me just close these one off real fast here. The next one I really like, there's a Argyagya, if I'm saying that one correctly here. And this is a Gyanko's Gyan. Totally souped up. It's more like the Ryarja than a Gyan, but really like Gyanko's suit. Also, Gyanko, best girl. Honestly, I have a hard time picking between Fumina or her as best girl in this series. But yes, outside of like just trying to pick out like, oh, who's the best girl for the series itself, the suit. The Argyagya is actually pretty cool, really nice. I like its overall design. We don't get to see it really truly utilized. We do see it in the final episode again too, in its fight, but it's not really shown out too much. But I just love its overall design. A lot of like looks to it, the detail behind it, and those shields. Those are really nice looking shields. Oh. I apologize. I didn't think one of my alarms would go off. I thought I shut them off. I apologize for that. Just to recap again, though. But yeah, I really do like this suit's design. Even though we don't get to see it a whole lot in this series, we see it in a couple of combat situations, and especially in the last episode. It's a decent compatible suit, but what I really do like about it is just the overall design. Love its sleekness, this regality behind it. And those shields. Really digging those shields. Really nice shields. Other than that, my next favorite one I liked from this series was the Transient Gundam. Really nice looking design. I couldn't tell what was the base levels besides like Gundam 00. I almost want to feel like it has a little bit of age inspiration behind it too. But it probably is just strictly 00. But I just like, again, a lot of detail behind the suit. Very formidable suit, too. Very cool. Liked it a lot. So, yeah. But if we're going to talk about my absolute favorite now from this series, I didn't think it was going to be that awesome. Its first form was all right, but its second form, I really like the Star-winning Gundam. I have an affinity towards SD Gundams. I like how they look because they're kind of cutesy too. Unlike the winning Gundam, where it was a pure support suit and it really couldn't fight on its own, the Star winning is capable of fighting on its own while providing still support for others. So I thought that was kind of cool. In addition to that, it was unique that it can actually transform into a Gundam itself. So therein being, because it can transform, it gets an additional win for me, or in this case, it's really winning my opinion on that. But yes, I really love transformable suits. The SE was cute, so all this plays in. I think the only thing I didn't like though is its armament once it transforms, because all we really had was some of its fin funnels in a sense, and then the winning beam. So I felt like it was very underplayed with what it could do in its real mode. I wanted to see it. I wish it had a little bit more armaments or whatnot, but it's still cool. I love the design overall. Very fancy. I usually hate like overbearing knees like this, very similar to the Kyrios or Arios in Gundam 00. But it just really works out for this suit. That's all I gotta say. But I do have one more left, and it's mostly an honorable mention. Just throwing it out there into the world. But I really, really do want to say I like the suit a lot, but it's not a true suit. Not a true suit. And they even covered this in the series itself too, but the Super Femina. Lovely design. Love it. I'm gonna have to agree with Minato. There's so much detail and love to the Gunpla itself. Look how smooth the textures are and how it doesn't have any nipper parts or whatnot. And made a Gunpla girl. That's not common, you see. But I just want to make this one an honorable mention. I think this is just, it was a funny one that they threw in there, and I like how they made it in the episode itself. Like, this doesn't qualify as a Gunpla. I mean, like, yes, it's even funny when Yuki was saying, like, Gunpla is freedom, but this is pushing it. This is, like, beyond Gunpla's freedom. Like, can you even call this Gunpla? This is more like a figurine and not really Gundam. So it's like, you know what? I agree. But you know what? Honorable mention, because it is a model. So, I don't know. But that's all I really got to say when it comes to my favorite suits of the series here. Let me go ahead and just pop this spoiler right off here. But yep, hopefully you folks came back from the skipping portion here and got away from all that spoiler stuff. Alright, so now that all the spoilers are done, let me go ahead and jump into my next segment here, which is I'm new to the Gundam franchise. Should I start off with Build Fighters Try? Here's another time I'm gonna break my rules. I feel like I'm breaking my rules quite often. It's only like a few reviews I've broken few reviews I've broken my rules, but I'm gonna say yes again to this series. Yes, you could actually watch Tri Fighters first. Kind of like I mentioned earlier on in the review itself here too. Again, with Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try, they're basically the same side, two sides of the same coin. You can either start with one or the other, and you don't need to watch one or the other first. Granted, Build Fighters will have some things that might have some relevance, more like mentionings in Try. It doesn't really play a huge relevance, unless you count towards Island Wars, to be honest. But in all honesty, though, you can watch one or the other. In this case, if you decide to do it Try first, because you might not like the fantasy elements that you hear about in Build Fighters, Try sticks more to the true realism of what it is in real life, in a sense. Again, just like I mentioned with Build Fighters, though, this is a very unconventional Gundam series. It's very different than anything else in the Gundam franchise itself. It's almost verging towards SD Gundam. While it does utilize a lot of Gundams and mobile suits from previous series, a lot of cameos and homages, it's not true to what is expected from a Gundam series itself. Like if you watch a Gundam series, how they correlate with each other in the same tones or stories in a sense. So it doesn't have a lot of the core elements, it doesn't have a lot of the story elements, doesn't have a lot of things that are very similar to other Gundam series other than having Gundams and mobile suits. That being said though, it's a very nice, very easily accessible, very easy to jump into series. Yes, it's not going to be standalone at this point because it is a direct sequel. But as I had mentioned, though, you can literally skip the first series and just jump into this one. You'll be absolutely fine, in my opinion. But yeah, I think this is a great jumping point if you are new to the Gundam franchise and really, in all honesty, do not want to deal with a lot of that story stuff or a lot of the continuity, and that's a lot more of an intimidation factor towards you. I think this would be a great series to really start off on. If you're familiar with the Gundam franchise and everything, I think this will still work out for you in the end. Because again, it's more of an homage, a respect towards the Gundam franchise itself. And you're going to see a lot of stuff in here that when you jump into any other Gundam series, you're going to go like, hey, I remember this character. Oh, I remember this mobile suit or Gundam. Oh, this location looks really familiar. Those sort of things. So I think this is a nice little jumping on point for anybody who's brand new into the Gundam franchise. Just know that do not expect, again, separating the Build series from the Gundam franchise itself, do not expect watching a Build series like Tri-Fighter or Fighters Try and then going into another Gundam series being the exact same thing. They're going to be very different in tonalities and stories and so forth, but really good gateway though. As for an overall, Build Fighters Try is very similar to that of Build Fighters, while it just basically has a lot more fun with the franchise overall, paying a lot of respect and homage to the Gundam franchise while paving its own way by telling its own story and focusing on its own type of characters and its own way of wanting to cover Gundam. Well, it doesn't have a lot of the tones and seriousness of any other Gundam series. Much of it is focused on the three characters, their team building, their development as characters with each other and as a team together, and of course the fights, which are definitely unique with the 3-on-3 fights with a lot of different strategies and tactics that we don't see in the original series of Build Fighters. I definitely like Build Fighters, highly recommend this series for newbies who are coming into the Gundam franchise and don't really want to get tangled with a lot of the stories or timelines and stuff like that, and just really want to get in there in the most easiest way possible. Definitely a lot of the action and story carries this series in my opinion, and it's just overall generally fun, very lighthearted, and very slice of lifey. So I think it's more in tune with a lot of anime, more mainstream than is with more of a niche kind of a thing. For that though, Gundam Build Fighters Try gets a solid 4 out of 5. I really did enjoy Build Fighters Try. I feel like every single time, I can only speak as of like going into the sequel, but they took what worked. So Build Fighters was kind of like an experiment, right? They were testing out some things. They were trying to see what would work out, and they changed it up, right? So when they did Try, they scrapped all the fantasy stuff for the most part. They kept it more real life based and then focusing more on our characters. So I felt like the sequel is a more of an improved version of Build Fighters. And while I've given them both a very similar scoring, if you're going to ask me which one is better between the two, I liked Build Fighters Try a whole lot more than Build Fighters. In fact, I would definitely rewatch this series despite some quirks, as I mentioned too, but I would definitely rewatch Try over Build Fighters. I loved Try a lot. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed a lot of the silly antics and the slice of life stuff. And again, like I mentioned, the fights are really fun to watch. A lot more unique compared to Build Fighters because, again, we got different teams with different strategies and different tactics. So it's not just that one-on-one. We're now doing 3-on-3, and we're seeing a lot of variety in those fights. So throw caution to the wind about the cliches. Have a lot of fun with this series. With that being said, if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. Did you like this series? Did you not like this series? What do you think about my opinions? Do you agree with me? Did you disagree with me? I want to hear from you guys. But yeah, that's all I have for you today on this nerdy review. And until the next nerdy reviews, I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Okay, and my voice is cracking up a little bit. Oh boy. Yeah. So that's all I gotta really say about Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try. I really, really did like this series. Very different from Gundam though. Very different. So between having a huge Gundam overload for the last 5 months and then watching this is something completely different. But like I said before, I've watched these series before. I watched Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try. This is my second time around watching them. I feel the exact same way I had watched them originally, which is I enjoyed it. And it's more like an anime to me than anything else. Oh, okay. Different from the Gundam franchise, but definitely something I would recommend, especially for like newbies who are really, really hesitant in coming into the Gundam franchise, because it's very understandable because the Gundam franchise can be a little bit daunting. It feels like going to the comic books. I'm not going to say it's like X-Men level complexity, but still it's got its level of complexities, and I can totally get that. That being said, we are almost done with the Gundam franchise. Quite literally, I only have 2 more series to review. Technically a third, but it hasn't come out yet. So it's really, really hard for me to like not talk about it though, but like I've already finished Build Divers. I finished that last night actually. I'm gonna be starting up on Divers Re-Rise, and then I'll be doing Gundam Evolution or Evolve, which is a series of shorts. The third one I was talking about that hasn't come out yet is the Gundam Breaker Battlogue, which is coming out October 19th. So not quite a month away. It's like about 3 weeks, 4 weeks away from now. That's why I say it's almost a month. But I'm a little bit excited to watch that too. I don't know if I'm going to be able to review it in time of what I'm trying to do, but because I'm going to try and do some overall stuff. Oh, I apologize. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so far, how do I put it? Like it's been a wild ride so far. I've enjoyed Build Divers. I'm not gonna go too much into that one, so I can save it for the review. That's the other thing too I wanted to mention about I swear to God, like my weekends keep on getting busy. I'm kind of glad though, because like I had all this time to finally watch Gundam, and I even was able to capitalize on my weekends, and now my weekends are getting busy. So next weekend I will not be able to live stream like I normally do. I will be busy. I don't know how busy though, because I might be able to pull off a stream later at night on Saturday or on Sunday. Yeah. I want to say afternoon or evening. Who knows? But what I want to try and do so I can complete this in good timing is that I want to once I finish up Divers Re-Rise and Evolution, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and do a live stream either earlier in the day, like like times that I would be watching Gundam, right? Because I don't have any more Gundam to watch. I could do a stream in the afternoon, like prior to my work, or I might stream after my work and it'll be just doing a very late night stream. I don't know which one's gonna be more successful or which one I'm gonna do more so, but in due time, I will be covering that one there. But expect me to do something. I will make an announcement for it. But right now, you can hear me out. Right now is that I'm planning on doing Divers Re-Rise, and Evolve. Battlogue, Breaker Battlogue. I'm probably gonna save that for when it comes out. I wonder if I want to do like an episode breakdown or something. I was thinking about doing that, but I wasn't too sure. But definitely want to do a review on that one. But after that, what am I going to do next? So yes, like I said, we are coming to the end of a long journey. No longer is it 5 months. It will be basically 6 months that I have been watching Gundam. I can't believe it took me 6 months, but I've now finished up what I started. I'm very happy that I did it. I am tired. At the same time, I'm not tired. I'm like kind of tired of watching Gundam, but that's just because, like I mentioned in previous streams, literally day in, day out, I'm watching Gundam. My schedule looks like I wake up, I do my chores or whatever errands I need to do or running around. Then I watch as much as Gundam as I possibly can before I go to work. I do all my work, I get off work, and then I watch more Gundam. Rinse and repeat that for 6 months. And you tell me how tired you are. That just to tell you guys, I'm a stubborn person and I'm very dedicated. This is telling you dedication right here. So believe you me when I say like the times that I actually did have to take off, those are like I had no choice, and either my wife required me to help out or I needed to do something. I did take a vacation week, so that's one thing itself too. But other than that, I'm like dedication's right there. But Briston, if you're done watching all of Gundam, what are you gonna do next? Because all you've been doing is reviewing Gundam. Well, that's the funny thing is that I'm not done with Gundam. Not by a long shot. I mentioned this in the last live stream, so once I'm done reviewing all of Gundam, I will be remaking all of my live stream reviews into shorter, nerdy reviews. These are going to be a little bit more concise. They're going to be non-spoiler reviews. So I'm going to make non-spoiler reviews for people who did not want spoilers or whatnot. And then I'm going to point them back to these reviews that I'm doing right now. The live stream reviews. So that way, like if you want to hear my opinion about it, my unfiltered opinion about it, sans cussing and stuff like that. You can find it right there. Again, I'm not done with Gundam. I have a lot more material to cover from Gundam because I have a ton of notes. a ton of notes from every single series. So I'm going to be covering like a lot of material within the Gundam franchise itself. I think I'm going to do some overview stuff first that I want to cover, a lot of my opinionated stuff of overview, and then I am going to be addressing some theoretical stuff that I've been wanting to talk about regarding Gundam. These ones I'm not going to be live streaming though. I'm going to be making more or less videos on YouTube. Probably when I do live streams like this though, I might want to do like a open mic conversation regarding them. So like I have a longer conversation. It's not like something that's boiled down to a fine point. I'm going to keep those videos within reasonable. I'm like thinking like 10 to 20 minutes depending on the topic. Some of them I could see them being like 20 minutes. It could be like an hour long. But if you guys have been watching my live streams, you know that I tend to ramble, and I will ramble whatever is on my mind and just talk. But I can get myself down to a finer point. It's not like I can't. I just don't like doing that because it requires more work. And that's why I'm like, well, when it comes to what I'm going to be doing next, going forward, it's going to be mostly with my YouTube channel. I'm going to be covering a lot more Gundam stuff still there. I am going to be doing my live stream reviews. We are coming up to October. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off. I want to try and do a live stream review, and I want to try and do a live stream review every weekend, like I've been doing so far, but maybe towards the afternoon or something like that, and bring on like guests. Right now, I'm probably going to bring on like family and friends, people who've given me opinions and stuff like that regarding my videos and stuff like that. But I want to bring in people because I want to do more live stream reviews, but I want to cover this time, since it's October and familiar with some of my work I've done in the past too, is I want to cover October with like not Halloween, but like horror movies. So instead of doing a horror movie every single day, excuse me, I'm going to do a horror movie every weekend. I might theme it to something. Last year I was trying to I didn't cover all of them, but I was covering anthology movies and I didn't get to all of them. I might cover more. I don't know. But I'm talking it over with some of my family and friends who wants to join me, and I was going to try and do it as early as next Sunday would be the earliest I could do it, because Saturday is a no-go, possibly. I'm not sure. We'll see how it is. But yeah, I just want to do some live stream reviews, and this one is going to be a lot different than what I've been doing so far right now, because most of these have been it's hard to cover a series, right? So I try to talk like big points about the series, what I like about it, overalls. And then, I do talk about some finer things, like some spoiler moments, and I try to categorize it for you guys. As you can see, with every single live stream I've done, I've constantly changed it up, and it's not always the same kind of live stream. I know it might be a little bit frustrating. Again, this is, again, me reviewing the entire Gundam franchise so far has been a testing ground for me. And just trying to find my style and find what I like to do, more or less. So the next thing I'm going to be doing for live stream reviews is another little bit of a test, but I think that's going to be more in line with what I've been wanting to do. But we're going to be actually reviewing the movie itself, like kind of going through the big, like, most parts of the movies. I'm going to try and utilize screen caps, some webcams maybe, and then of course, like having my guests chat with me. We're gonna have a lot more fun. Either we're gonna trash the movie, we're gonna talk some serious points, some film stuff, basically. I don't know how else to put it, but I'm looking forward to trying to experiment with something a little bit different with another set of live stream reviews going forward outside of Gundam. So that's what I'm looking at to do. So YouTube wise, we're still going to be focusing on Gundam. Twitch wise, I'm going to be focusing on doing live stream reviews on the weekends. An additional thing I'm going to be doing on my Twitch as well, not just live stream reviews, but I'm going to be doing some game streams as well. Next month in October, I believe, I don't have my Steam up, but I'm going to be doing the pre-order for Super Robot Wars 30th. So really, really excited about this one. I've been wanting to play a Super Robot War game for a long time. Haven't played one since, I want to say, at least high school, college. That's how far ago I feel about it. But definitely want to play those games. But I'm going to be streaming that. Probably if I have some open time between that too, I might stream some more other games. But between trying to work on episodes off of the YouTube and whatnot, I think I'm just going to kind of deviate my time frames between that. I might be able to stream more often too, so I might stream like midday or late at night. So anticipate at least more late night live streams, if anything else, with gaming. I'm also looking forward to game Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. My wife will be getting the Shining Pearl, and I will be getting the Brilliant Diamond. Since when we were younger, we actually did the opposite. I had started off with Pearl, and she started off with Diamond. Not saying that that's where I had originally started in Pokemon. I played Pokemon for a long time, but I skipped 3rd generation, and then I started back on 4th generation. And 4th gen, I started on Pearl. So I think it'd be nice to start on a different version itself. So we got Pearl and Diamond, or I say Pearl and Diamond, because that's how I always remember. But Diamond and Pearl coming out in October or November. And then in January, Arceus is coming out. So we're going to be playing that as well. But I also have a bunch of other games on my Steam account and a bunch of other games that I've been having my eyes on wanting to play. So I'm not going to be short of material whatsoever. I will try and see what I can do about either clipping or keeping some of my not live streams, but the gaming streams short and be able to put on YouTube too. I'm not too sure how to go about that necessarily, but yeah, that's pretty much what I'm gonna do. I might want to make a compilation, make it kind of like following by the story and cutting out any like the like in betweens or whatnot, or mid scene stuff or what. Who knows? But that's basically my battle plan so far. Again, so recapping everything, I have a ton of Gundam stuff that I want to cover. Overall series, theory, and some just other things I want to cover in Gundam itself on YouTube. Twitch-wise, we're going to be still streaming live stream reviews, but I'm going to do something special for October, doing horror movies with family and friends. Expect a little bit, not a little bit, but expect a different format on that one there. And then same thing with Twitch though, but I'm going to be doing more gaming streams since now I have more time freed up for me. I can play games again. So we might be starting off with my gaming streams with Super Robot Wars 30. If not, maybe something else beforehand. Who knows? But I'm going to have a little bit more freed up time, I think, by the end of this coming up week. And I'm very excited actually, because I get my life back. Gundam has literally had me on a death choke, but I chose this, and I saw this as a kind of a lame life achievement, if you will. But it's a life achievement to me where I'm like, I literally marathon Gundam, and I don't know anybody that has done this ever. Again, day in, day out, I have been watching Gundam nonstop. Well, not nonstop, okay, but as nonstop as one can get in their actual day-to-day life. So that's all I got to say about that. Now, my bear guy's kind of like bending over. I don't know why. I think I put her on the wrong footing. Anyways, that's all I got to say for today on today's stream. And I'm keeping it short. I'm keeping it 2 hours. I'm doing good. I think the try review was shorter than my Build Fighters review. But I am actually going to go ahead and end the stream here. I do want to thank you guys for watching today. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you as well. Again, make sure, if you're watching this on Twitch, follow me on my Twitch channel. Watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. But looking forward to the future here. Still got a lot of content to work with. A lot of content. I might look up to do some upgrades too, but we'll find out then. But until the next live stream, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.